I can't hear anything, you guys.
I can hear you, Rosie, but
Yeah, I can hear you, Dominic.
I
I cannot hear the group over there, though.
yeah, I'm messaging with Melina, who's there, and she said they're working on it.
Oh, good. Good. Yeah, I put up the chat, but nobody from the room is responding to the chat. So I'm glad you got somebody on text.
Yeah.
Well, I'll put in the chat here that we can hear each other.
Okay.
I don't know if they're monitoring that chat or not.
No, I just messaged Melina again and let her know. I think they're trying to figure something out.
Okay.
How about now?
Yay! I can hear you.
Welcome, Dominic.
Remember.
Yeah, make a note.
Let's show Marty.
Now.
Sometimes the sleep out of the way makes you the hero for the day.
Okay, this next item, I'm gonna just take a minute and say something about it, and then I'm gonna go to Marty, because he's gonna give us more of the specifics and stuff, but we have been asked by NCPRD administration to look at our bylaws. I would take it probably all the committees of the county are doing this. It's a good point in time to do it, especially with new rules coming down from the state's ethics committee on meetings like ours, where we follow the bylaws and we have certain things like the reason I put on the agenda that we have public comment is because that's part of open meeting law for the state of Oregon. You know, so for a long time that wasn't on there, and now it is. But there are other issues that they want to be sure that we as a team address. And you may also, I don't know that you've already has this topic as part of the topic, but it's my understanding that the county is also going to be conducting or helping us conduct or whatever some sort of workshops on open meeting law, so that we all understand and know, what's going on. There have been some recent changes. They were talking about it at the Clackamas County Internal Audit Oversight Committee yesterday. So we may see some of those come down. Meanwhile, one of the items that's been noted to us is what we have as far as term limits or no term limits or whatever kind of term limit. So Marty, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Sure. So let me read this. It is Article 3, membership, Section D specifically. And it says terms are for a period of 3 years. Board terms will be staggered with terms ending in October of each year. Board members shall serve no more than 2 consecutive full terms. The body which is appointed a particular MCCAB member may waive this limitation if it is in the public interest to do so. So over the last 10 years or more, we have waived this limitation. So we technically haven't been in violation of our bylaws, but I guess the question is, now that we have a full board and a person
and people
waiting, perhaps,
yes,
is it something we want to establish moving forward? We don't even necessarily have to change the bylaw. We just have to, I think, determine if we want to abide by the 2 3-year terms max.
Well, and Marty, if I understand correctly, we also have the opportunity, should we wish to do so, to change that wording with a bylaw change. But I think we'd also want to look at the full bylaws and say, is there anything else?
Correct.
We might do, like in January, when we have, if we have that sort of, I'm going to quote it, goal setting session, where we would look at where are we headed for the next few years, and also at that time look at our bylaws and say, we might say 4 terms of 3 years each, or we might say 2 terms of 1 year each. I mean,
Right.
I'm not, we wouldn't, but you know.
So I guess it's something to think about, and then we can revisit it, with an overall bylaw discussion.
At this
How you
point
wanna
in
do that?
time, do we know, I mean, I know Virginia's been on for a while, but I don't know just how many terms. Ben, and I'm missing Ben again today.
No,
What we've heard from him.
He has some house construction going on, so.
Okay, okay. And Paul, I think, has been on for quite some time. Joel is coming up. So what is it coming up next year, year after, or something on the end of your 2 terms or 3 terms? Or how many?
Just got it
re-up, but I think I'm my
3rd term probably.
Okay.
So I'm not suggesting we go retro at all.
Oh,
I'm just-
no.
I'm just suggesting we discuss whether we want to
Just trying to
adopt
see
that.
who it most likely affect in the future too, as we move forward, but we can start from wherever we are at that point in time, a clean slate and say,
Yeah.
yeah.
Can I ask, I know we're not making an action, I'm not trying to project my voice unintentionally, but
No, please do.
I know we're not making like an action item right now or anything, but do we know if the county is as written, are the bylaws, at least as they address our term limits, acceptable legally? Or do we have to retool even our wording?
So I am assuming they are acceptable legally because they have been approved by the county commission, and I believe they would send them through legal before they would approve them.
Because it's kind of like a built-in fail-safe, like we've never had the luxury of having people wanting to join this board beyond our capacity, so.
So I think for this particular one, I think we could keep the bylaws. But then I think we need to determine as a board if we want to start asking people to switch out after 6 years.
Yeah.
I think that's the main question, because you know, then we could always back off of that. If we started getting a smaller board, we'd be like, well, wait a minute, we can't do this.
Sure.
So I think that's kind of where we are, and I wanted to throw it out there when no one was up for read, because I didn't want it to feel like we didn't want someone in particular. But just, I think if we adopt it, it needs to be across the board for everybody.
Yeah, well, because I would be concerned too about how, and I'm trying to work this through in my brain, so help me out here. So somebody applies for a seat, but it's being held at that point in time by a longer term member that we might want to keep on there. Is it fair to advertise that there are seats available? I mean, we need to do that because that's what the bylaws say.
I think if we adopted, this board decided they were gonna stick to the 3-year terms right now during this time, then I think we would need to, as the terms were expiring, let the person know that their term was expiring. And then advertise for a new person, and then that person would need to leave regardless of whether we'd have to be consistent, so they'd have to leave. And then we'd have to try to find someone, I think.
Yeah.
Or we could find someone while they were leaving, which would be fine too, but.
Right, and what I feel in my personal life, what I've observed with committees, especially such as this, and some of the things that we're dealing with, is that it takes a heck of a long time sometimes to really get up to speed on what's going on, and you know, how to work through different processes and whatever. So I would hate to see us, even with the bylaws we have right now, I would hate to see us cut ourselves short of knowledge and expertise. So I personally would be in favor of looking at them to see, should we increase the either terms or number of years or something like that. But again, we don't have to do that today. It's just food for thought, and know that this is coming up, whether it comes up at a regular meeting like this, or we do in fact have a goal setting session where we can discuss those kinds of things. Am I on track?
I think that's on track. We just wanted to throw this out to think about.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, yes.
So, okay, anybody else, any comments on that or thoughts or?
If I could say something as a new person, I too would also be really hesitant to lose anybody with a lot of experience, because you carry the board right now, especially for the newer people. You know what's going on, you have the history, how it's worked in the past, and I would hate to lose that.
Yeah, good. Thanks, Rosie. Okay, move on to project discussion, Connection magazine, print design and layout, and then the open house. Can we switch that up for just a minute? Let's have the open house discussion and then we'll
That'll
go.
probably be quicker.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
I assume.
Riley?
Sure, I can give a little update on that. Our group met for the first time last month after our typical meeting time, and that's it was just pretty quick. Marty joined us for that. We talked a little bit about our overall mission and vision for a potential open house event and some of the components that we would need to consider as a group, timeline, budget, some of those other items. And then we made a plan to continue to meet after our normal meeting times here on Fridays. That worked for everybody. I believe Marty has recruited some folks to join us here, some staff as well.
Okay.
And we'll continue to meet today. We have a little agenda today to get into, I think, just a little bit more of the details and timeline of what it would actually look like.
Oh, very good.
Hopefully even start to think about who might be able to help with what.
Uh-huh.
I like getting assigned a task myself personally, so I won't try to give anybody else too much homework.
Yeah.
Anything else to add to that?
No, I think it's good.
Yeah, and you've recruited a couple of folks
Yeah,
from the
it's
center.
gonna be Maria in general. Sarah's gonna represent today. And then it's gonna be Jamie as well. She's unable to come today, but she's gonna be helping with that as well.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'm really excited that we've got such a good, strong team, a committee, a subcommittee, whatever you want to call it, of members of this, and other help certainly would be beneficial.
Super excited.
Riley's doing a good job of keeping it all together, so thank you. And thank you for those of you who volunteered to be on that committee. It's much appreciated. So great.
Super exciting.
Thank
45th anniversary.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
It is.
Great. Now we're going to turn it over to Melina to discuss the Connection print design and layout and any questions or comments that we have.
Thanks for having me back.
This is a habit.
It's nice to see a permanent member.
So moved.
So once again, my name is Melina Beacons. I manage the marketing and communications at NCPRD. Just as a quick recap, last meeting we talked about reducing the number of pages for the newsletter, but still keeping it and still keeping it in distribution, but reducing the pages so that internally we have the resources to also produce the district-wide discovery guide. So as promised,
Say that again, reducing the pages so it's like.
So that we also have the bandwidth internally to produce our district-wide discovery guide as well, the program guide. So as promised, we went ahead and did a mock-up design so that you have a better sense of what this will look like. Please keep in mind that this is a draft, and so we can still make some changes. I'm going to have some this way, and I'm going to have some this way. And this is all placeholder content. And it's really just to give you a sense of what it looks like. I'm going to go ahead and say, can someone give me the ability to share my screen?
Let's see what.
Oh, yeah, we're taking.
Thanks, Karen. I'm going to wait to dive in until it.
Rosie, how does Rosie get a copy? Does she have something online?
I'm going to pull it up on my computer as soon as I get access.
So the physical paper weight and everything is changed.
Did it, didn't it?
Yes, that works. Yeah, thank you. And it won't be this exact paper, but it could be. But yeah, these are just mock-ups. I know right now we're doing gloss, so that's more or less up to the foundation since they're
Gotcha.
for the
Okay,
printing,
sorry, I was just curious.
But yeah, it could absolutely stay the same. So sorry, let me show you. So is it showing up yet? I'm showing that I'm sharing, but
There you go.
here we go. Okay, let's dive in. So as you know, we talked about this internally with our connections planning team, and after meeting with everyone here, we knew we needed to make it as close to the current newsletter as possible. So we wanted to change as little as possible, while also just finding ways to be more efficient with space and to reduce sections without really losing that important content that everybody has come to love about the newsletter. So we can go section by section, but as you'll see, the covers is exactly the same. There's been no changes to the cover, so you know folks will be really familiar with it when they see it. Very little changes there. We reduced the directory section that the first 2 pages that were just information about the district to 1 page, so we made some consolidations there. Keeping the directory and then the information about the board and the foundation. So really just the key information and consolidating it to 1 page. Same.
Yeah. Do you want questions as you go along, or do you want to wait until the end of it?
Let's go ahead and just maybe just do a quick walkthrough of all of it and then open it to questions. Is that okay?
Do we have one of the full?
Oh,
there's some there. Oh, yeah. Perfect.
There you go.
Of course.
Thank you, Michelle.
Yeah, thank you.
So,
Yeah, does
that
Angela have one? Here, so if anybody.
other changes, we consolidated the manager's message and the foundation message to 1 page. So there's a need to have a page there. We have consolidated the section for around the center and center spotlight. So Wilda, you had mentioned that you love the photos, and that's something you didn't want to go away. You wanted to see, have.
I still feel that way. Yeah.
Perfect. And so we did that. So we wanted to make sure we could still show people what was happening around the center. And, and so that is one element that we absolutely wanted to keep. And so that still gets a spread. It's consolidated now with also if there's new instructors, or staff as well. So that's pages 4 and 5. So we're still getting those really great updates and photos and seeing all the wonderful faces and people that go into making this such a special place. If you go to page 6 for events, you'll see that we've consolidated all events onto 1 page. There's still photos attached to all of the events. We can still promote all of our events, but the event section before used to take up sometimes 3 to 4 pages. And this is a way to still have that events list and promotion in a more consolidated, efficient way. And then if you go to page 7 for travel trips, same thing. Instead of a spread, we consolidated it to 1 page. So again, we're not losing mention or promotion of the travel trips. We're just consolidating how we present that information. Then that moves on to, here's the biggest change. So if you go then to page 8 and 9, we one of the things we talked about was pulling out all those detailed program listings and putting them in the discovery guide instead, because basically the newsletter was functioning as a program guide and it really should be a newsletter, and we'll have that district-wide discovery guide promoting those programs. So this is really meant to be, here are the featured programs, highlighting 1 or 2 new programs, and then directing people online to see the full guide, or directing people to the discovery guide to see all that information. Marty had mentioned that we really wanted to keep at least mention of the ongoing clinics and groups, and so we wanted to make sure that wasn't lost at a high level. If people need descriptions, then again they can go online, and we'll have a beautiful fancy new website where this information will be really easy to find, and then again in the district-wide discovery guide. Now these pages, there's still, I think, some opportunities to enhance the design of it, but this is really just to give you a sense of the kind of information, the amount of information, and where it goes. There's still mention of Pete's Cafe on page 8, as well as volunteering and artisan gifts. One thing you will notice is that the advertising page is still there as well. There's a full page for advertising on page 11. So there's still opportunity for highlighting different businesses and getting that additional revenue to help cover the cost of the printing. The one thing that did go away was the calendar, and we did hear feedback from staff that that was not the favorite of the newsletter, and maybe not as functional as we all would have liked it to be. And so that calendar did go away, and then on the back you'll see there's space for advertising or promoting different events, or just an open space to use as needed. And so we tried to get this down to 8 pages originally, and it did not work. And we found that 12 pages was definitely the sweet spot for keeping all the important information, but also making sure it was short enough so that it cut back on the amount of time needed, you know, to produce it. So I'm going to pause there and see if anyone has questions or comments.
Yeah, I do, and I know some of the others do too. So if it's okay with the committee members, I'll go through my notes there. Appreciate that. Appreciate you bringing this and keeping some of the really great functional pieces of this magazine. I just want to preface it also by saying I'm in some ways still very disappointed that all this happened without input from this group, or apparently from, you know, not much information from the foundation, as I understand it. After we have increased the publication of this magazine from 800 to 1,500, knowing that it's a valuable tool to get out into the community, and selling advertising and doing all the work that staff and the volunteers did, and then all of a sudden it's just kind of being pulled back and reduced in its format. And you know, in many ways, I mean, it's certainly a nice publication, but I'm not sure that it answers all the needs. When we decided to go bigger and better, we increased not only the publication, but the magazine itself was increased from something like similar to that to the 32 pages it is now. But I do have some pertinent questions. That one thing I noticed as I went through there, I didn't think there was as much emphasis on youth as the other one had, and we're trying so hard to be seen as a multi-age facility. You know, in the big one, there's that 1/2 page of the youth events, classes and stuff that are going on, and I missed seeing that. I'm glad that you got in the phone numbers and everything, because even recently I've given phone numbers out to 2 different people who didn't know what the Milwaukie Community Center did, and I said, here's the main number, here's the social services number, here's the, you know, whatever. And as much as I like what we hear from Stan and Marty, if there were a need for other content to go in, I think that their messages is one area where we might cut back, cut down, you know, reduce, you know, whatever, that type of thing, just in my, you know, thinking. I like that you're using a lot of photographs. I would love to see as many photographs as possible. People like looking at a magazine or a publication of any kind where they can either see themselves, relate to themselves, or see people that they know in other ways and stuff. It's like our mural out there, you know, none of us may be part of it, but we can look at it and go, oh, I know that one and that one and that one, and look, it represents, you know, a great number of us. So yeah, so I just made a note on this page that has the travel tips and that, you know, is this info on here for all ages, or is it just the senior citizens, especially those travel trips? It's not really defined. The teen nights and the mahjong and stuff like that, I didn't find that in the featured programs. So I felt that, again, it's that the items for the youth may not be as prevalent as they had before, at least in my thinking as I went through it. That's, you know, kind of what I felt. So that's my thoughts. So
Okay, so
thank you, Lorraine.
yeah, thank you, Walter. Those are really good. I work with Willamette View, so I look at things from that lens. And I'm just kind of wondering a couple of things. First of all, how is this for low vision people? I'm kind of looking at like the contrast in colors and the spacing between lines and things like that. And I mean, do you have is that something that you look at, that, you know, as eyes get older and it's harder for them to see certain colors and spacing and all that? So that was that was one thing. I'm also wondering, does the center have like a mission, vision, values statement? Is there anything that could be like the Milwaukie Community Center is here for, you know, whatever? I don't know, we might have one, but that would be a nice thing to put on there. Which could be this multi-generational, you know, this is why we're here. Also, I think it would be nice to have a section in here on impacts. Like, you know, why is the center such a great place for people to come to? Kind of, you know, selling it from the heart, you know, showing the impact of all the programming here. I think that would be a good thing. And
so let me ask you a question on that. So provided by somebody who's using it, or
exactly.
Yeah.
So like the end result, you know, my child is in this class or goes to, you know, all these events, and this is what it means to our family, you know, to try to make that connection, kind of connect the dots with other people in the community. I think that would be good.
Yeah.
And also, I think, and I understand why you took this calendar out. I mean, it's a busy calendar, but I think it would be a good thing to have like just a 1-page something that's like a cheat sheet, you know, the one that people stick up on their fridge. And I know you have your programming one, but you know, so this wouldn't be quite as detailed, but you know, I'm not sure, you know, something like this will end up in a pile of things to read, you know, versus if you have like a page you can tear out and stick up on your wall and you know, I want to come to certain things, maybe little check boxes or something. And what was the other thing? I made a note. Oh, I know what it was. So the ad space, so I'm thinking foundation wise. So you've got the back page and this for ads. Is that enough space for ads? You know, if you're using ads to help pay for the publication, yeah, that would be kind of a stand thing. But anyways, yep, so that was just my input.
Good. Thank you, Lorraine. Appreciate it. Anyone else with comment? Joe, what are you about to raise?
Well, I was, I think well, I don't know if it's officially the mission statement, but about the Milwaukie Community Center on the first page outlines what we're.
Yeah.
And I guess the way I'm looking at this is, I think you bring up a lot of good points, but I think a lot of those could be addressed to the current iteration of the Connections magazine as well. I mean, it seems like you're just elevating you're not reinventing the wheel here. And I don't know, this probably isn't the most popular opinion, but I actually kind of like the conciseness of this. It's more center focused, which I think is the idea. I'm assuming that's the spirit of what you guys are trying to do, is make this more center focused. So in my head, I mean, the content, you know, to a lot of your points, I'm sure could be manipulated to try to make everyone happy as much as we can. But I guess what I'm also wondering though, and I know it's not necessarily going to be in the immediate horizon, but as Concord takes shape, does NCPRD envision a combined kind of community center connections, or would each individual facility, and maybe this isn't something you didn't have to consider yet because there's not even funding to get programs at Concord yet, let alone a magazine, but that's one of those things in my head that I was kind of thinking about. And this actually goes to even the current iteration of the Connections, especially though as we move into this being more Milwaukie Community Center focused. I would like to see Milwaukie Community Center more prominently displayed, so it looks like the Milwaukie Community Center Connections versus Connections, which maybe it was a subconscious thing, but in the past it's been Connections because I've kind of thought of this as a district-wide, you know, service manual. But now if we are trying to get it more focused, making it as focused as possible. Excellent ringer, Wilda. That's even that is Slayer.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's kind of my initial thoughts on it. But again, I mean, I know I'm not talking specifically about what the content is in this mock-up, but as far as it being concise and to the point of the calendar, I mean, that's up for debate to whomever. I kind of like how it's more center driven. That doesn't take into account advertisers, which has come up before, things like that. I don't know, you know, how those necessarily affected, but in general, I mean, I think it's kind of nice, especially if it's kind of a similar quality content thing, because I do like that Milwaukie Community Center driven thing. The only other comment, and then I swear I'll shut up, is as we do move forward with programming guides being a separate publication, and maybe it falls on us as a board to, you know, if we have to kind of take our medicine with this, is how do we increase distribution of the programming guide? What is it, quarterly? Well, it's, or is it quarterly-ish? I know it's a little
We're
slow.
still figuring that out.
Yeah, but how do we then at those points, let's say quarterly, increase distribution, physical distribution of programming guides with our Connections magazine, you know, using our existing, you know, whatever, taking it to this, taking it to that sort of thing. I know it's a lot more literal heavy lifting, but it would then, in my head, it would then serve as the complement that it's supposed to be to one another. If we just say, oh, go figure it out. Though I do see, like, it's not on here yet, but I do see like the place for the QR code for people to get more detailed programming information. I love that. I think that's going to be essential moving forward. You know, God bless people calling on the phone, but in general, it's going to be mostly people going online and getting more detailed information about actual schedule times and Tuesday's work, so on and so forth. So anyway, that's kind of my 2 cents right now. Thank you. Thanks for the mock-up too. This is really helpful versus trying to envision it on.
Yeah.
Well, I know we got people on Zoom, but the Zoom just doesn't give it the, even though I would consume this digitally probably more than it would this way. But this is, I think this is a terrific mock-up too. So thank you.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
Anybody else comment? Oh, I'm sorry, Stan. Yep.
No problem. I just don't have a name tag. So I understand that this is a response to what you said the community wanted. My question is this is for the community center. I mean, were those people asked what they wanted? I mean, if you go to the whole district, that's one thing. But asking what the center wanted, because this is actually for the center. You know, as far as being center focused, the full one is center focused. The 32 page is still center focused. There's nothing else in there except for a couple of small things that are mentioned about other things going on. For instance, even the you know, the things in the park and the stuff like that. But I think they were still center focused. And secondly, you know, I mean, we keep saying, oh, people go look at it online. We still have a whole population in here that doesn't go to look at stuff online. They depend on this as it is, not as it's proposed to be. Lastly, and this is just more from the foundation point of view, is that we pay $2,980 every 2 months to do a 32 page thing. I went and checked with Eagle. I don't know if that's who's gonna, but even at 12 pages, we're still paying $2,200. So if we're going back to 12 pages, we're still paying $2,214 actually. Even if we increased it to 16 somehow, it's $2,254. We're not really, and that being said, with part of the reason that we did the advertising was to subsidize printing costs. And now we're losing advertising space as well. So that means that we have less access to cover those printing costs, which didn't really reduce in ratio to the number of pages that we've been reduced. There's a lot of other things that I think that maybe needed to be considered when this decision was being made.
So Stan, I guess I'm surprised, especially about the printing costs. So how did that happen? That it still costs the same to print a third of what you were printing before? I don't get that.
It's not always per page, it's per project. They still have a cost to set up a project and print it, right? And so once they have a project set up to print,
well, and where's the printing done? Is that through a
right now
place or through NCPRD or through
Eagle Print and Mailing Service?
We
do Eagle Print and Mailing Service. They're the ones that actually gave me the reduction in price with the or the more copies at the same price plus the
Right.
four more pages.
Yeah.
And so they were the ones that were already doing it. And then I just asked them to, if they changed their process in the middle of their paper, what we could do, and that was how we doubled our copies and increased by 4.
Okay.
Was just changing what was printed on, basically. But in that process, still it comes back to, you know, this is a substantial decrease in what this can do at not much of a savings in printing at all.
Hey, if I might weigh in a little bit
Yeah.
about the question. So I appreciate all the thought and the communication about the cost, but I think one thing from my chair as the deputy director, I have to look at the whole NCPRD as a whole, and the straight cost of printing is one cost, but one thing that we have to consideration is staff costs, staff time. We have a marketing communication department that's two people. I kind of look at this like, you know, we've got the Aquatic Center, we've got MCC, and soon to be online Concord. 3 kids. So we have to take 2 people and spread their time over three facilities here in the near future. So we're trying to do the best with the staff hours we have as taxpayers pay for them and spread that out in the most efficient way we have. And we think this combined with the guide, program guide, is in the entire NCPRD's best interest. So we did talk about this quite a bit, and we do take it serious, but our staff time, the amount of time, not only to do what we do, but even to prepare these mock-ups takes a lot of time and translates to a lot of money. We also have another advisory board that the marketing communication team produces slideshows and presentations for. So it's just not a dollars and cents straight for printing, but it's also a capacity question and issue that we're trying to make sure that we have somewhat of a balance across the entire NCPRD district. So I just wanted to throw that out there as a big factor in some of these decisions that we're wrestling with.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Dawn. Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if Rosie has any comments before we come back to you again. Rosie?
No real comments for now. That the only one thing, I guess I do have one comment. The thing about the magazine that I really liked, and one of the things I considered putting an ad in it for, is that people hold on to it for the full 2 months and refer back to it because of the scheduling in there. So even if we were to have a 1-page, this is the schedule of classes that the center is offering, and how it changes every couple of months. That's what I feel like people hold on to it for and refer back to it and keep it on their coffee table. So that part is very important to me.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. So Lorraine?
Oh, go ahead. Oh, no, I was just gonna say, I think at our last meeting, we also talked about, does it need to come out every 2 months? Would that be easier for your team if it were maybe once a quarter or something? Anyways, that's all I was gonna say.
Well, it's certainly something that they might consider. I mean, at this point, I was gonna ask kind of in conjunction with that. I mean, the newsletter, as you were talking about it, the program guide, that would come out quarterly, or it does right now or whatever, and then a magazine comes out every 2 months. So how does all that, how would all that, and do you print, or will you be printing the program guide, or is that just an online? So if you're printing it, it seems like the 2 publications should somehow go together.
Yes. So there's been a lot of, I made notes. Do you want me to address all of the, okay, let's do it. Okay. So yes, we are planning on printing the full discovery guide, and that will be distributed in facilities. It will be mailed. It will be available online. So there will be heavy distribution of that. This was always meant to kind of supplement the full discovery guide and to provide updates in between when, that's happening. And so, there does need to be some consistency in terms of when this comes out, but ideally it would be during fall, right, season. So we would schedule that and look at that. Some of the things I did want to talk about. So Stan was included. So the way we honed this down, it was a group meeting, and Marty was there, Stan was there. We talked about it with staff. We looked at different options and really discussed what are the things we want to keep. And so there was a lot of conversation that went into making this happen. Some of the things that I just want to go through, you had mentioned youth and like having it be a little more diverse in terms of the audience who we're speaking to. There are still a lot of opportunities to do that, similar to how we use the cover, right, for different age groups, how we show around the center and the different age groups, and not just age groups, but also diversity and the different kinds of people that use our services. And then for the program section, this rhythm and technique, that's a youth class. And so it's really up to the rec team and staff to highlight which programs we feature. Is there a new youth program? Well, we can still put that here. And so this does still serve the purpose of, if we are strategic about the photos that we use, of still showing the diversity of the residents that are served. For travel trips, you mentioned that we can absolutely include some sort of message about the different age groups of who this is targeted for. That's really easy to do. Vision and mission, as Joel mentioned, we do have an about the center section. And
it's a nice little paragraph.
Yeah. So we could visually highlight that a little bit more. But we did want to make sure that when people open this, they did see what is the Milwaukie Community Center and what are those services offered. I'm going to save this one for last. Regarding the calendar, we created a second version. I'll pull that up when I get through this list of getting the calendar from 4 pages to 2 pages in more of a list format. And I can pull this up so you can see it. We shared it with our group, with Stan and Marty, and it was agreed that that was not the preferred option, but I brought it here just so you could see it just in case. Yes. Because we still have it as an option. Again, this is still a draft. We can still make changes. That's why we wanted to come to you today. This isn't set in stone. We want feedback. So distribution doesn't have to change. We're not telling the foundation print less. Like, you can still print just as many copies, distribute it in the exact same way. And again, it's very little content that was actually cut, right? Like, regarding advertising, the only 2 ad spaces that were cut were the two ad spaces associated with the calendar. Otherwise, all the other ad spaces exactly the same. We did not change that. What else? For print costs, I originally asked for a quote for 8 pages. What would it cost to get it down to 8 pages, thinking that that's what we were originally doing. And that came in at $1,300. So I would imagine that 4 more pages wouldn't be substantially more. So let's read down.
Where's that at?
Eagle Lab. So let's maybe let's
quoting us 2 different prices.
I don't know, but
8 versus 12, was it?
It was so 8 versus 12. So I think the best thing moving forward regarding price is to get us all on email. I'll email Eagle Lab, I'll include Stan and Marty, and we can all be a part of that printing cost conversation. But regardless, it will be a cost savings. So we will be saving money on printing regardless. So that's really important. And then, at the end of the day, it really does come down to the fact that we don't have the resources to do both. And so if we just don't, I wish we did, there's other parts, agencies that have much more robust marketing and communication teams, and we just don't. And so it really comes down to, do we keep this and shorten it and then bring our full discovery guide back, which in turn further promotes all of the Milwaukie Community Center programs, because right now we only include the recreation programs in our printed gatefold. Whereas if you could bring the full version back, then all of the social services, all of the nutrition programs, every single thing the Milwaukie Community Center offers will have a place in the discovery guide, which is distributed beyond the center throughout the entire district. And so I think there is benefit to doing that. So we're not really, again, we kept pretty much all of the things. We were just reorganized them a little bit, and then there will be additional promotion since this will allow us to then produce the full discovery guide again.
Virginia?
I like the shorter version. But if I didn't know that the center had classes, I just don't think this little bit on page 9 is going to get that across. I think those of us that don't use these thank you QR codes, something needs to be enhanced there, and that would be my main concern, especially for all the people that are coming in new. I mean, I know to go and pick up the list outside Tina's office. That's what I use. But if you're totally new to the center, you're not gonna know that. And I don't think, I mean, the rest of this is great. I mean, it's over the top. It's wonderful. But there's just that one little section that needs to be a little more thinking. Okay.
Yeah, that is a good point.
Yeah, and we can reorganize this. We will still be limited with the same number of pages, and so then at that point we have to discuss what goes away, what do we move. But we can at this point, we absolutely can. Maybe it's some sort of different call to action, you know, or renaming the top, but or just redesigning it. But as of now, there's the space for a few featured programs that are new or that we need to increase awareness around. Again, Marty's request to include a brief listing of the healthy aging programs, and then volunteers and artisan gifts. Maybe do we want to have artisan gifts with less space, reduce the space for volunteers? We can redesign this section based on your feedback, but we will still be working within the same number of pages.
So, okay, maybe we can talk about that. Because I'm maybe one of our team was maybe Tina was in there.
Tina was involved.
Okay, yeah, well, yeah.
Well, the other thing too, it strikes me as I look back over this too and listening to the conversation on the manager's message and the foundation message. You guys are pretty good about being specific about what you want to tell people. And I remember back when I used to have to write a city council message every few months, and it was like onerous to do that. But as long as you two stay focused on the upcoming kinds of things and maybe have links in here where people, you know, can access them and whatever. I was just reading back through the ones that are in this mock-up. I like that they focus on certain things that are happening that aren't maybe mentioned in specifically elsewhere in pared down publication. Lorraine?
Yeah, and I'm not a graphic designer, so I'm not trying to be the expert over you because you are the expert. But I'm just kind of wondering if we're trying to develop this multi-generational programming, you know, could things maybe be color coded, like children, you know, look in the red section, or even, you know, like your boxes. Unless it might already be that way, but maybe even referencing it on the front, you know, come see our children programs and have that in red, and then you look in red, or little tabs along the side, or you know what I mean? Just to, because for the longest time this was a senior center, and you know that's what I always remember it being. But
Right.
But yeah, I mean we want to bring all these little kids in here, and
Well, that's why I even asked the question like about the travel. You know, is that seniors only, or is it like anybody, or is it whatever? Because you don't know that by reading this. And if you're unfamiliar with the center, but let's say you're somebody who just moved here and you want to go see the dahlias, and you go, oh look, there's a way to do that. I can take my two littles with me, and everybody else goes, no. Yeah.
That's an easy fix.
Marty?
Oh.
So to Virginia's point, I really kind of side with that, thinking about it, because you know opinion of this has always been if somebody random picks this thing up, has never been here, doesn't know about us, which was so great about it, they can find out a bunch of information and realize that we do the social services and the classes and the recreation. And I do see, and I know that it's all in the discovery guide, the QR codes and that, but I think if there could be a page that, you know, is recreation focused, classes and activity groups. I mean, I know it'd have to be done similar to the featured programs.
And take out the description, like have one featured program and then 2 pages of this.
And I think
everybody who comes to register, they come with this in their hand.
And I think a place that, you know, the travel trips I think are fun. I think they serve a very small number of people.
I was wondering about
and generally the same people. I mean, to be honest. So I would be, if we're looking at places, I mean, this is like trying to squeeze the lemon out of it. But if we could maybe put 2 pages of recreation being this rhythm and technique Spanish classes, plus maybe take the travel trip page.
Just feature like this.
So those 2 pages could be, you know, however that was displayed, be recreation. And then we have this page of, you know, more social services. I think that would be a wise use of limited real estate.
Serving the various populations a little better. Stan?
So here's my question is I understand that it's workload that we need to deal with, right? And I somebody mentioned early, what if we went to quarterly instead of every 2 months? That would reduce it to 4 a year instead of 6. But if we did so, what if we could do that and go 16 pages and allow for a few more things in there that we're looking for that would still make the and plus and still have some good advertising opportunity as well. But then that would be only 4 times a year rather than 6. It might, I mean, I don't know.
Well, it saved the foundation quite a bit of money.
It would save the foundation quite a bit of money, but it would also reduce your workload substantially just for 4 more pages, but only doing it 4 times a year.
So what's the total page count?
16.
16 times 4?
Yeah.
Opposed to 12 times.
Okay.
6.
Joel?
Well, this is a question maybe to Angela and Stan or Marty even, but I guess the one thing I liked about 6 times a year is the frequency keeps the Milwaukie Community Center relevant.
Yeah.
And top of mind. It's not going to be every 3 months. Then again, I mean, we're talking about 2 extra issues, so I don't know what the balance is, but I just wonder how much of that plays into the fact that like the discovery guide you get, you know, fall, winter, spring, you're going to do these programmings, but for all the other good stuff, including fundraising opportunities and things like that. And I mean, hopefully, you know, increased rental capacity and things that nature. It seems like a higher frequency is better, especially for those that consume this print wise. That's more of a comment, I guess, than a question, but that's what occurred to me.
How do you distribute the discovery guide?
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Yeah, good question. So the discovery guide is currently it's a gatefold, so we're allowed to. There's a little more flexibility with how we distribute it. For the full print version, that would be distributed in all NCPRD facilities. We also typically drop it off at libraries and other organizations who request it. So it would be here in ample quality and quantity. There would always be some available. Then it would be featured online. We also have a mailing list of around 30,000 people. I think we're looking to clean up that list because it's been the same list for a while and we want to make sure that it's relevant. But we would also mail it out to that same 3,000 people, which is something that this currently doesn't have right now. And then I think we would still try to have some sort of truncated insert that we could include in the Milwaukie Review like we have been, because that has been very beneficial. Anytime the discovery guide book comes out, it is we print 5,000 and they're distributed in the Milwaukie Review to individuals who may not be aware of the center or the district. And that has proven to be really beneficial. So we really don't want to lose that either. So there's a lot of distribution. And Sarah, regarding your point, we can definitely revisit how we list program information. Maybe, but can we fit all the tables in here? I don't know, probably not.
I just think we probably.
Well, we can talk about that, but I also want to remind you that the discovery guide is that.
I understand that, but the patron is here to have everybody trained. To set up a training, you can look for any class information in the guide. We have the fall guide, the discovery guides out there right now. They go here. They don't really ever pick up the fall guide. So I just want to make sure that we make sure, like, to Virginia's point, that it's a little bit more than just a scan here.
And we can talk about what goes into like how we organize the content in here. I know that Tina was in that meeting, but definitely you and I can sit down and really talk about how do we best use the program and rec pages. But again, you know, we do want to go back to, you know, this being a newsletter, right? And the program guide, which is comprehensive, is color coded by sections and facilities. And represents all district programs, including at the Milwaukie Community Center. And that will be the full resource, the full guide that shows everything that NCPRD offers, including at the center.
So I want to take a minute to note that Ben has joined us on Zoom, and so Ben, I don't know if you got a gist of the conversation or if you want to add anything, but I want to give you that opportunity at this point.
Oh, wait, does not say I'm muted. Okay. I mean, assuming you can hear me. Glad this works. Sounds like we're just discussing connections, possibly shifting to 4 issues per year. Is where I kind of came in, or when I was realizing, all right, this is the connections. I see Melina and Dominic are on the Zoom with me, along with Rosie. And so I think I'm somewhat up to speed on this. I'm not sure what I missed before that. In terms of how to, if there was any discussion before shifting it from 6 to 4 issues.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, we'll catch you. So we have about 25 minutes to finish our meeting. If there's nothing, new information, new questions, new comments, whatever, tell me what the next step will be for you in relation to this team.
Yeah, of course. So I think from what I'm hearing, next steps would be Sarah and I need to sit down and talk. We need to look into printing costs a little bit more with everyone included in that conversation. Yeah. We'll also look into frequency and maybe see what it looks like on a calendar and how that pans out, whether we do, you know, whether this becomes every other month or, you know, 4 times a year. I think those are really the remaining things that are kind of left on the table to kind of figure out. If we did address some of those other concerns and things, is the group here okay with still proceeding with kind of this strategy moving forward with the...
Well, can you come back to us at our next meeting and with any responses to the issues and questions and things that have been brought up today and a way to, you know, help with, I mean, I guess I'm so surprised to hear that it would cost the same to print a smaller version than that. So I'm really
well, and I'm interested in hearing your.
Yeah. So like changing maybe
I'm pretty sure we talked to the same person.
So can we put you on the agenda for our November meeting, I guess, is the bottom line question on that. And we get more responses. It looks like, you know, going in an okay way, but what does that mean overall? What does it mean in the long run? And what does it mean to the people that already depend on this 32-page publication? And then especially what about the costs associated with that? So, Joel.
Oh, this is my own first, but can we highlight that this is a connections to the Milwaukie Community Center as well? I mean, I don't just put it in bold even. I mean, It just
I
kind of
didn't
gets
notice
lost.
that,
Yeah.
yeah, we do, well, we can
That's
beef that up a little bit.
super tiny, that piece,
Yeah,
but that was all.
It was more,
Yeah.
yeah, okay. All right, let's move on to the other
Thank you.
items.
Thank
on
you
the
so much.
agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. I don't think there's anything to talk about today on the goals, kind of in a holding pattern. Foundation report, Stan. Got just a couple minutes on that.
Sure. We got a lot of great things going on. We got the Mahjong tournament coming up. Is that next weekend?
Next weekend, yes.
Next
At the moment,
weekend.
we have 19 tables, and if Marty can find me some more checks in the mail today, I'll get up to 20. 80 people.
Which is pretty exciting. Where one of the things that is going on is we are going to purchase shelf stable meals for Meals on Wheels again this year. We didn't have it in our budget, and so we're expanding our donate dinner campaign to the whole month rather than just 8 days before Thanksgiving, so that we can subsidize the cost of that. So we're just finding other ways to raise funds to make sure that we're paid for these things, because it's.
And if I can jump in just 1 second.
Yeah.
A big part of that is with New Seasons, and they will take donations at the register. So any of the members of the board are willing to volunteer for a shift, there'll be an opportunity to take a shift, basically just greeting people as they come in so they understand what's going on. But
Milwaukee?
in Milwaukie.
At the Milwaukie.
So we switched. We were in the Happy Valley one, which was sort of ironic since they weren't. But now we're at the Milwaukie one, and
double dip.
Can't double dip. We tried, but having a person there. So if any of the members of the board are willing to take a shift, there'll be a schedule.
It would be awesome, yeah, because that's just for the 8 days. That's just during the 8 days before Thanksgiving that we do the campaign with New Seasons. On the other hand, if you have or know of a business, because we're also creating table tents, so they're going to have QR codes and websites on them, and people can donate the whole month rather than just the 8 days at New Seasons. So if you know of a business or have a business that would like to have some of our table tents, that would be awesome. Let me know.
So how much money are you looking for? And what is the cost of that?
The $2,100.
$1,850.
Is that what it was?
For the shelf stable meals.
$1,850.
That's it?
Yeah.
Slam dunk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's.
Doesn't seem like very much.
No,
It's
wow.
not very much, but it was a chunk that we did not have in our budget.
Yeah.
So
I will say,
it goes into
that is
what's
doable.
already there.
I worked it last year and people are very open to giving. So it's not one of those awkward things where you're sitting at the New Seasons and people are trying to avoid you. They're like running up to grab the little QR code. So yeah, it was very nice. It was a pleasant experience if you want to volunteer. Yeah.
So the cards that you have that you pass out at New Seasons have our QR code, but also have a barcode that is specific to New Seasons. And so you can walk up and they'll scan the barcode and it'll add a meal to your bill, to your grocery list. And so they can, and then they just pay us out at the end of the thing, which is kind of exciting.
Yeah, awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So are they gonna present a big check? That would be a good photo op.
Yeah. You
Seriously,
think
for
that would
the connections?
Yeah.
They did in the past. They just provided a small.
Well, so the numbers were pretty nice, but the check was.
It needs to be a big deal. I mean, that is a big deal. So, yeah, promote it.
So,
And celebrate it.
Stan, any possibility you could send something out to all of us that has like dates, times, we could double up, have a couple of us
So
working shifts or something. Sign up for
yes,
shifts.
so it's all on the volunteer. It's already if you're signed up as a volunteer, you can log in and all of those, you can actually sign up for those right online.
Yeah, that's why I brought my iPad, because I need to talk to you or there's somebody afterwards, because I can't do what I need to do on there and get into volunteering thing. So
I'll help you out.
Okay, all right, thank you. Is that it on your reports, you think?
And then Thanksgiving dinner. Yes, we're doing Thanksgiving dinner on the 24th. One seating at 4 p.m. The flyers are going out for print tomorrow, actually this afternoon. We were waiting for some sponsors. We're still, if anybody wants to jump in on short notice, because one of the sponsors had to back out because they're sponsoring something else. So if there's anybody that would like to help sponsor that as well, but we need to get the print part of it done. It's already on sale on Apple Tickets, and we're just trying to get the word out.
What's the cost per meal this year?
$18.
18 and
So cheap, it's not cheap.
18 and 10, right?
10 for children, 12 and under.
12 and under, so
Great.
Okay.
And that's, you can buy tickets online.
you can buy tickets online at tickets.com/Thanksgiving.
And there's volunteer opportunities for that as well as buying tickets to come and eat. Okay. Joel, the DAC.
I was at a volleyball game on this. In fact, I know Mark was there. I did review the meeting at 1.5 times speed yesterday or this morning. Which is a great way to do a DAC meeting.
Yeah.
I don't think there was a ton of relevant info necessarily directly to the center. There was a lot of discussion about the naming policy. That's towards January NCPRD backwards. So I'm sorry I don't have more information.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, there's nothing going on much, nothing going on.
Well, there's lots going on. I just don't know how much.
Okay, Sarah, how about Recreation Program Committee?
Yeah, the last time we met, it was the day before Fiesta Latina, and so we were very happy that the weather cooperated with us. We had just a short little period of rain, but we had 1,503 attendees. That was a 27.5% increase from last year. So we were super excited. It's our 3rd year doing this event, and we keep seeing it grow every year. We had 5 food vendors, and this year we introduced artisan and resource vendors, and we had 31 artisan and resource vendors.
That's awesome.
So it was also sponsored, we had 93.1 El Rey there, and the Milwaukie Community Center Foundation was so gracious in sponsoring that event. So it was just a super nice success, and so we were very excited.
And planning for next year.
Yeah, we're planning for next year. So fall classes, we had about 37 adult classes and 11 youth offerings. We're seeing most of those, all of those actually are filled, and a lot of them have wait lists. So that's very exciting. Our first teen night was also on September 27th. We had 29 teens come to the event, and we had a great time. It was our theme for that night was Mad Scientist. So they got to do lots of different activities in all the different rooms. Tonight is Halloween night. So it's Halloween themed, and we have about 37 currently registered. So, and we were getting a lot of calls this morning. So I have a feeling we might get up to our 50. We're trying to cap it right now at 50 students each Friday night. October 26th is our Halloween bash and movie night. So from 4:30 to 7 o'clock, we're gonna have trick or treat activities. And then around 6:30, we're gonna start Monsters Inc. on the big movie screen in the main room there. So that event is $5 for a family of up to 4 people, and then $1 for every additional person. We have a huge thank you to the Milwaukie Community Center Foundation, and we also the Milwaukie Rotary and the Milwaukie Elks Club, because they have donated for our candy donations. We're still short about 15 bags of candy. So if you know anybody,
how much is 15 bags of candy?
it's about, it can be, those bags of candy are.
Full size? What is Marty like? Expensive taste.
About 250. We were hoping to get one more candy sponsor. So we're making do right now, but if you guys know of any businesses that want to donate a bag of candy, 1 bag of candy at a time, we'll take it.
Hey Sarah,
Yeah.
What we did was we asked all of our board members to chuck in 20 bucks.
Oh.
One of our board members went and bought all of the candy.
That was, yes, you guys were amazing. Thank you so much.
She had a cartload.
Yeah, she did. Yeah. So thank you so much. We're looking forward to it. We're so excited to see those teen and youth programs increasing.
Pretty cool.
We have 3 new youth programs coming up in winter to go.
That's important, and that's the kind of stuff that we want to be sure we continue to let the community know about in whatever ways we can. So thank you for that. Appreciate it. The facility, Ben, you got anything on facility rentals or?
Yeah, we met on Wednesday. I came out of hiding, or no, I came out of hiding. I came out of construction related things. I missed the last meeting when I was entering the Zoom code, and the contractor's assistant cut me on the shoulder and said the plumber would like to know which wall he should cut into to supply or to run the supply lines. And I was like, just a moment. And then I was sort of stuck in the waiting room after that, but made it this time. So we're on track for doing the work in the spring in the I guess the pool room area. They're slightly revised the layout. They're going to get the two big storage closets kind of in the corner, like one kind of behind the mural and then one on the other side of the window of it. And then the pool tables are going to stay because Concord isn't ready for them. They're going to stay, and we're probably going to be here another 12, 18 months before they'll be ready. And then in January, I think Marty is going to be, we're going to kind of roll out the idea of what's going to happen with the pool room officially. So this is not supposed to be out yet. That things are moving. And then, but they'll get to build during the spring. We'll do the closets, add the new doors, and for the doorway, and be able to move things for storage. And then later we'll have to do the pool tables, and that would shift any foundation expenses for furnishings into probably the next fiscal year, because if they're not going to be ready till after fall, we're definitely in 25, 26 then. Alrighty. And that would mean they don't need to build any closets to take up space out of the rhododendron room. There have been some talk about possibly doing that near where the display case is. Alrighty, we're trying to see if.
Let me go for a second. So the main consideration is we didn't want to get rid of the pool tables here without having an alternative option for those people. So being that it's a separate room, we can do the construction side of it when we have the building closed, and then since it's a separate room, once Concord is ready to accept for play the pool table, we can then close the doors and we can still work in there as a space. We don't have to have the center closed because it's a separate space. So that's kind of what the change mindset was. And then we're going to try, we still have to diagram and make sure it all fit, to keep all the tables and chairs in that space and not add another closet, shrinking the layout of the rhododendron room. So that's kind of the storage for those tables and chairs. And so when you walk in that room, there won't be tables and chairs everywhere. It'll actually look like a room with, just big blocks in it. So
okay, all right.
So go ahead, Ben. I'm sorry. Just wanted to.
All right, no, that's good. That's good clarification. And I was realizing, yep, I hadn't noted that we can still work because it's separate. We can still do the work, any further work on it after the tables are gone without having to close the center. That's a good point. We had some volunteers that were back here out back. They were cleaning up all the curbs, getting ready to paint them. And of course, that was the day it rained. And so I guess maintenance will be working on that afterwards. And they did a lot of work. People who are doing I guess service hours have been working in the back hallways. I was walking in, I noticed there was this neat little blue accent trim around things. That was my brain thought first, and then I realized, no, it's painter's tape. They just painted. They're cleaning up. The hallways got painted. That's what happened. It's not that we've done some strange new blue accent. And then so trying to get all the back offices and workrooms painted throughout this fall, I think. The proposal for getting a vending machine sort of in that coat closet area across from the rec office. The foundation would like to have a vendor come in so that they would get 10 to 15% of the sales. The current thing that the county does with vending machines is that I don't think they see anything of it. So they were, that's, I guess, trying to figure out if there's a way we could have a different vendor, waiting on permission for that. And then there were just sort of other things. There had been talk about trying to put another mural in the lobby. That's sort of on hold. And still would like to redo the front pillars outside. Maybe someone knows a designer or something. We thought maybe stone below, wood above, or some nice finishing on those big concrete things holding up our sort of the entryway. And also would like to find someone to take over the front entry planters. And there's also out right at the front, I looked at it on the way out, there's this big brick planter. I guess it's to the right as you're coming in the gate. And it's got some kind of scraggly evergreen in there, and it gets whacked back every year. And someone said, maybe we could do something with that brick planter and make it look nicer. And I guess over a maintenance thing of, we have soap dispensers in the bathrooms, but we also have bottles of soap. So I just wanted someone to investigate that. That note came up in the meeting. I'm thinking it could be a supply issue or replacement, that those soap dispensers only take a certain kind of soap, or that you have to buy it from a certain vendor. I don't know. Stan might know from his past time as being the person in charge of those, but I haven't asked.
Okay,
and I think that's pretty much it for what we had.
Thanks, Ben. Appreciate that very much. Marty, you're next up. We've got just a little less than 10 minutes
I
left.
won't even need that. Just a couple quick updates. Social services in the fall, we do. The firewood program starts in October, so this is for your knowledge. We do give firewood to up to a half cord to folks that need it. It was set up as an emergency firewood program, meaning that if the power went out, you'd still have something to heat your house. It's more of a supplemental energy program now, because people do take that, and oftentimes they'll come back for a second helping after the new year. We still have more. So that's all cut and split, and some of it delivered by volunteers. So it does take some staff time to organize it, but it's run by volunteers. Social service staff actually today, they do LEAP applications for folks, which is helping them pay their utility bills in the winter. And that's an income-based program, just LEAP, low income eligibility assistance program. And just so you're aware that for a single person, the monthly income is $3,067, and for a couple, it's $4,011. Just to give you, it goes depending on the family size. So if you know of anybody that is lower income, that's pretty much the only requirement. So a lot of people don't know about these kind of things, but they can certainly take advantage of it. It can help them out. That's sort of the thing we do in the fall. We're also having a veterans lunch. So we started our first one last year. It's just to honor veterans. I think it's November 7th. I don't want to say that date for sure. I know it's the first week. 4th. It might be like 4th. Okay. And that's basically, it's not advertised, like we don't try to advertise it like the featured event. We're not trying to gather the whole community in. We're trying to honor the people that come here on a normal basis, and for them to have a nicer lunch and some entertainment and just that day to appreciate what they've done for us.
Is that extending to Meals on Wheels people also?
It's no, it's mostly just here in the building.
Okay.
Yeah. Like last year we did we're not doing that this year. Prime rib, which was pretty cool. Yeah.
Your veterans all of a sudden.
That was good. If you work in the garbage station, I think they're doing Court Out doing this year, but they didn't send that out on Meals on Wheels.
Yeah,
and it is Monday.
It is Monday, November 4th. That's the only real changes news I have.
Thank you. Appreciate hearing that. Thank you. This is a time for public comment from anybody that's not on the board or NCPRD to address items of interest to this group that are not on the agenda. I don't see anyone in the room, nor do I hear anybody or see anything on.
I see over on the Zoom, and this could just be from before when people couldn't hear, but there is something on the chat. So
in the chat. Let's see what's in chat.
I think those were from Rose.
Yeah.
Can't see your chat.
Oh, and Marty, I mean, I noticed Rochelle wasn't in the room, again, did somebody?
That was
take
at the
notes
beginning
for
though, right?
minutes?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what the SAG's program was.
And then
recording
Dominic's
this
in
and
here.
Oh, so it's
the
all,
minutes.
oh,
Okay.
got it,
Okay,
thank you,
good.
yeah, that's what I couldn't figure out, yeah, okay, thank you.
I'd just like to say if I can, that we're starting off with the tax program.
Oh.
And once again, we will start taking appointments the day after MLK Day, which is late this year, so that's January the 21st. And then they will start actually doing taxes on February the 6th.
Wow, that's great, that's such a good service, I know a few people who come for that.
Is that a call-in? I mean, first come, first served call-in, you get like a.
Yeah, I mean, last
Call
year.
in early, because it
That's
fills up
okay.
within.
It fills up.
Yeah.
It's funny, because always get.
We'll be full by the second, well, by the time we start doing taxes, you know, it takes maybe 2 weeks to fill out those
So, well,
appointments.
so and I guess an add-on to that question, is that something we want to promote necessarily
Well-
at the AC meeting, or is that something we should just, if it's gonna fill up, there's not gonna be an issue?
Well, it must be promoted enough, cause they fill up every year.
We've already had the first inquiry, when can we sign up?
Just answering my question.
And we do have it in connection, you know, this is when you can do it, and the number to phone.
Any other comments from any board members or items for the board or anything? I do want to tell you a little story about the Connections magazine though, because I thought it was pretty cool. Just the power of this kind of visuals and this connectivity and whatever, and even with the pared down issue, I mean, that would still happen, but. So I was working at the farmer's market at the city of Milwaukee's community booth, and this elderly woman with a walker, you know, was coming along in the farmer's market, and I'm like, hey, you know, can I get you anything? Can you read this, you know, anything you're interested in, whatever? And she said, no, I'm all by myself and I stay home all the time, and I wish there was something where I could do something and make friends and blah, blah, blah. And so we talked for a while, you know, and so pretty soon I had her give me her phone number. And I told her that I would get back to her with whatever information I could find for her. So I got back to her and I read to her. So, if she doesn't have a computer, she doesn't do anything on her phone other than answer phone calls. And she doesn't get very many of those. And she doesn't have family and she doesn't have friends. Right. And she doesn't have a car. Right. So, and she was, like I said, she was elderly. And so I, you know, read her the phone numbers for transportation, you know, out of our magazine and social services. And I said, are you interested at all in Meals on Wheels? And she said, no, she didn't think so. And I said, but you know, you can eat on site at the restaurant there, the little cafe thing and, you know, whatever. And she said, I've never heard of all this. How come I've never heard that? She lives in Milwaukee. She lives close enough to walk to the farmer's market. But she had never heard of some of that kind of stuff. So then I mailed her one of the Connections magazines because I realized they can't get that, you know, online. I mean, they could get it online, but she doesn't have a computer and she doesn't do online, and blah, blah, you know, and that. But it's that kind of person that I think we want to try to serve. Now, whether she told me she was going to call transportation and, you know, get out here. Whether she ultimately did that or not, I don't know, but I felt so gratified that I was able to help her and give her ideas in so many different ways, you know, so that's the power of this facility and what goes on here, so.
Nice.
I just want to thank you all for being part of that. Ready?
I just wanted to say once again that it might be beneficial for us to come up with a mission statement that's like a sentence. You know, something that says the Milwaukie Community Center is here to support all generations in creativity and building a sense of community or something. You know,
Well, and I think it would be different
have one.
our bylaws,
Seems like years ago.
starts in our bylaws why this committee is formed, but it's a lot more words than what's.
Yeah, because it could be on the
what we
front of
talk
us.
about. Yeah, it could be something, needs to be a elevator speech.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
To Virginia's point, I think we actually I don't know if it's in print anywhere, but I recall spending a lot of time on that years ago.
That sounds.
It does sound very familiar. It's think it used to be in the. And that's, but it's just.
Maybe there's a way.
Well, and if there was a mission statement before, maybe it's not relevant now because maybe it only speaks to seniors.
It
or-
really
We don't
did
know that,
mostly
we don't know
speak
what it
to-
is.
What?
It didn't, it was a link.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I'll try to find it.
Yeah.
I'll see
Okay,
if I can find
research on
it.
that, Ben might have some info on that too, so.
I will search for it.
Ben, thanks for joining us today. I see that Dom and Rosie are gone. They were on there too, but thanks to them for joining us today. With that, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you. See you next month. Well, you guys are staying at your subcommittee meeting, right?
Well,
And Stan, you can
Yeah, you wanna do that in my office?
well,
anywhere.
Good Wi-Fi back there?
You're at the meeting.
Somebody grab a sandwich. I'm sure. We'll be. Oh, I'm sure. I can imagine.
Yeah.
Angela, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Angela. Well, we.
Thank you, Angela.
I
mean, I would like to know what some negotiating our.
Well, I thought it was interesting that she had a better price than us. I've already emailed him and went, what the hell's going on? I thought we were friends.
Maybe they're getting some sort of county friends and family discount, you know?
Thank you for
Yes.
your work on this.
Okay, that's really good feedback. I will definitely put that in.
Well, we got permission.
What the hell, man?
Yeah, they're prices. But I thought you were my friend.
Sponsor for that. So yes, I agree.
Yeah, so
Let's go to my office.
No.
Let's go to my office. That'd be
Let's go wrong with less or with more pizza.
donation.
You know, yes, I have cash, or I can give you more in a check after listening to some of what you were talking about. I might just mail, yeah, I don't have a check with me, I have a certain amount of cash, but, yeah,
Okay.
I'll mail it to
That'd
you.
be fine.
Yeah.
You just have me to remind me, so.
Absolutely, yeah, I never carry checks with me, so, or I can just give you cash today. Do what you have to have.
It's checks. I think I'm supposed to say, no, always take the cash, right? I'm just gonna give you this meeting real quick.
Okay, Stan.
Oh, yeah, we're still being recorded.